Hello, I'm Joseph Graff, also known as Fantastic Fox, and welcome to my first ever video essay. Today, I'll be discussing the question, what is it about trains that is so appealing to individuals with autism? I have a personal connection to the topic on two fronts. One, I'm on the autism spectrum, and two, since an early age, I've had an intense interest in trains which has left a very good impact on my entire life. The purpose of this video is for both me to personally understand why I have such a strong interest in trains and how that relates to my autism, as well as to give others insight into the correlation between these two subjects. Through researching, I found three factors that influence the appeal of trains to people with autism, or medically ASD. And so, let's begin with the first one, circumscribed interests. Circumscribed interests are subject areas of intense interest and focus for individuals with autism, typically in niche subjects like cars, insects, botany, and of course, trains. These special interests are very repetitive in the lives of the people who have them, and might be seen as more of an obsession rather than a pastime. Trains are often seen as a child's interest, but individuals with autism are more interested in typically adolescent subjects rather than the stereotypical subjects for autism, meaning that these interests are not unique to the people with autism, but rather they originate from childhood interests that individuals have only carried on into their adult life. Their brains will also support these circumscribed interests that prioritize more introverted passions because of a slightly altered reward system, which would make sense for having a set of interests you spend most of your own time delving into. So that explains how I have a strong interest in trains, but what about why? It's fairly common knowledge nowadays that people with autism can be easily overloaded with sensory information. For me, it sounds like it can easily overwhelm my mind, which is why I feel uncomfortable in places with large crowds or loud noises. As a side note, this is one of the reasons why I prefer model trains over real ones, because of the loud sounds they create. But I still find them enjoyable just at a distance or behind a window. I think that most of the appeal of trains to people with ASD is the sensory side of it, like the visuals, the sounds, the feelings. Trains are very geometry and pattern based by nature, and this fits well with research on the processing of sensory information from the autistic perspective, as sensory information that is expected, predictable, controllable, and self-selected are more likely to be pleasant in the minds of people with autism. It then makes sense why trains may be so appealing through a sensory view, as trains are predictable, heavily controlled, and have limited movement capabilities because of the rails. Let's move on to the final factor, how media can influence this interest, by talking about the by far most popular TV show about trains, Thomas and Friends. The children's television show, Thomas and Friends, was originally based on the popular children's book series titled The Railway Series by the English author the Reverend Wilbert Awdry. The show gained massive appeal after first airing in 1984 because of the unique usage of live-action model trains to tell stories. The series is still going strong today, but it's utilizing different storytelling mediums. This show has been near and dear to me since my childhood, and it was also one of the major reasons why I got so interested into trains in the first place. The show appeals to children with autism because of the simplistic storytelling with understandable morals and lessons, the still and distinctive faces used for the models of each character make the emotions of the characters easily readable, the gentle world presented in the show which has no heavy action or lots of movement, and of course the use of trains to tell stories. The show provides almost everything desirable with trains. Well, except absolute realism. But it does have an enjoyable story aspect. With this, the show will continue to get children interested in trains, with maybe some of them keeping that interest for the rest of their lives, like I am. I find trains to be visually appealing with their movements and geometry, calming because of their slow and repetitive nature, a creative outlet for me, especially shown in my intense interest in trains, transportation, and modeling, and finally a mode of storytelling that interests me because of all the places they can and will travel to. I'm a train nerd, much like how my best friend is a partner. When I see a train passing by, I can't take my eyes off it, and I can probably identify a locomotive, the train's next destination, and what a rail car might be carrying inside, all by just looking at it. Individuals with autism or ASD like me are drawn to trains because of the quality of circumscribed interests, the sensory predictability of the trains themselves, and media influences that can help us get into trains and make the interest even more enjoyable. Well, off to set up some model trains. Thank you for watching and see you again soon. Bye!